Before we dive into today's episode, I've got some exciting news. FutureLab, Australia's first longevity supplement range, is now available at Chemist Warehouse and leading health food stores. Now, this is a lot more than a regular supplement range. It really is a mission. The experts at FutureLab have developed formulas designed to support your well-being today, tomorrow, and beyond. Welcome to FutureLab, where we explore the cutting edge of health span and longevity. I'm Danny Urbinder, and with me is my co-host, Dr. Denise Finesse.
Hello, everyone.
How are you?
I'm really well and looking forward to chatting with our guest. I won't say who it is yet.
No, well, we'll let Trev do that.
Yeah,
so we've got
okay.
our other
Denise
co-host,
has been
Trevor
changing
Hendy.
the world as usual before she came here, but yes.
How are you going, Trev?
Good, mate. Yeah, very good. So good to be with you guys. And Danny, you're
Always.
looking healther and healthier every time I see you.
I'm taking your lead,
we'll
mate.
talk about that
You're
one
inspiring.
time.
You know, you got that svelte look. I thought, how do I acquire that?
There you go. But I'm so stoked today. Like I feel honoured to do this podcast and to have you two guys as not just my co-hosts, but friends and, you know, amazing journey we're walking together. I'm learning so much from you and I love it. You know,
me too.
We love each other's company. So
yes.
But every now and then we get a moment to interview someone who I love and adore. And we've had a few of those. And this one today is, I often text her, hey sis, you know, she's a sister to me. We've been ocean warriors together. She's an absolute sweetheart. She's an amazing, amazing human. There's so much more to her than meets the eye. And anyone who spends a little bit of time with her goes, whoa, wow, that's incredible. So I'm so honoured to have my great friend and beautiful, you know, ocean warrior sister, Layne Beachley, on with us today. Hello, Layne.
Hey, Trev, if I'm ever having a bad day or a self-pity party, you are the first person I have to call.
Yes, we've had our moments, haven't we? We've had moments where we've just been like, hey, let's have a chat, you know, like let's clear some shit, you know, let's get it all out. Mate, I just want to tell the listeners that the very first time I came across you, and I'm not even sure how much I've relayed this to you, but was, you know, obviously I was the Ironman on the circuit, and when we're racing in around Sydney in middle of December, January often, I'd go and stay there for a period of time, and sometimes in the pre-season. And I'd stay with Craig Riddington or around the region, and Riddo, Leachy, Guy Leach, myself would all, we'd train together and hang out. And a lot of people thought I was from Manly. A lot of people still call me Leachy. They go, Guy Leach, and same with Leachy. Like we text each other each time. We go, another one, you know, someone calls him Trevor Hendy and I get Guy Leach, and we'll get Leachy on one day. But you know, we would go and hang down at the Corso there and surf and hang out. And one day, I think you skated past. I'm thinking you skated past, and everyone was like, "Yeah, Gidge." Yeah, Gidge. And because you got Gidget, right, which is from the old surf movie. And then I remember Riddo turning to me and goes, that's Layne Beachley, that's Layne, that's Gidget. She's going to be a world surfing champion one day. And you were super young. Like you were, because I'm 5 years older than you, I think. And I think I was about 19 at that stage. So I reckon you were probably 14. Would that be roughly match up? Manly?
Yeah, 14, 15 maybe, yeah.
Yeah,
because I'm working at Leachy's shop, so that's how
yes, that's right.
And I'm guessing you were skateboarding, not roller skating.
Yes.
Yeah, skateboarding.
I was into rollerblading as well at that time, but I would have been skateboarding.
I reckon you rollerbladed past.
Oh, there you go. I imagine you on the skateboard.
I reckon I would have been skating.
Skating, yeah.
Sure. If you were on the beachfront, I used to skate up and down that beachfront all day long.
Yeah, that's right.
That was Manly Beach,
That was Manly Beach, yeah. And Manly, you know, Bondi, Manly, Surfers Paradise, probably three beaches that have produced so many interesting stories over the years. So many people around the world go there, but Manly has got such an incredible surf culture wrapped around it. So that was the first time I saw you and somewhat met you. Oh, hey, you know, like I think we might have got introduced to someone like that, and you were on a mission. I think you saw a sandbank in the corner you were trying to get to or something like that. But then, you know, right through our journey, it's been incredible. We've shared a lot of things along the way. And what I love about you, mate, is that you are, as I said before, you are so much more than what people would know and understand. You carry a whole essence with you. You are such a warrior for women. We'll get into that story a little bit because you pioneered the popularity of women's surfing, and you took it from almost like a co-act. And I'm trying to not be disrespectful, but you took it from a co-act to part of the main show. Like, it was really incredible what you did, and I think you inspired a bunch of other amazing people like Steph Gilmore and Carissa Moore, who both won a bunch of titles. You won 7 world championships.
Amazing.
You know, Laureate Sports Person of the Year, like among all sports, international. You know, is it Layne Beachley AM? Are you a member of the Order of Australia? Is that right? Or OAM? Officer?
AO, sorry.
AO. So that's in some other stratosphere. But that's because of you, not only your surfing, but your service to sport, community, everything you've done. So I want to ask you a question to open this up, and that is your resilience, your hardiness, your soul, your depth is incredible.
Thank you.
Where did it come from? Has something happened earlier? I know there's some stuff that you may or may not want to talk about. Has something happened earlier that's made you so damn strong? Where's it come from? First question before we get into the story.
Let's just hit it hard. Woo!
Yeah.
Where has this spunk come from, sister?
Look, when I think about, you ask about resilience, and what were the other things you were talking about?
Well,
Depth
I did say depth.
Hardiness.
Hardiness, strength.
Hardiness, spunk, competitiveness. I feel like each one of those layers has come from a different moment in time. I wasn't just born with all of those characteristics. I was definitely born with a competitive spirit, or definitely inherited one, growing up in a male-dominated household, in a male-dominated sport, in a male-dominated world, and decided to find my place within all of that because I didn't allow it to dictate the terms of my life to me. I was determined to find my position in that world.
Yep.
But the resilience obviously has come from, well, not obviously because that's why you're talking to me, but I feel the resilience has come from a variety of different experiences, and having the audacity and also the confidence to bounce back from those challenges, you know, from, starting as a 4-year-old learning how to surf in Manly, to then, as a 5-year-old paddling out the back and challenging the boys on my foamy. I surfed a foamy for the first 9 years of my surfing life.
That's
I didn't
right.
progress
I
to
didn't know that.
fiberglass board till I was about 14, which was a pretty late transition. For,
That's a lot of years of foamy rash, by the way.
Yeah, totally. Yes.
I should have started with one of those.
Yeah. And that's why I wore a one piece, just to protect my stomach, because it used to get so rashed up. And then when I was 7 years of age, I lost my mother, who she went into hospital for cosmetic surgery and died of a brain hemorrhage on the operating table. So when I was 7, I had the deep misfortune of losing my mother. And I remember Dad telling me that she's gone, and I'm just feeling that deep sadness and overwhelm. And then feeling the need to break that cycle of sadness, I jumped on my skateboard and ran to the top of the hill and just kept riding down it as fast as I possibly could.
Wow.
Just to bring myself back into my body. And then the next year, that's when Dad told me I was adopted. So as an 8-year-old, learning of my adoption shattered my sense of self and my world, really, because, you know, our deepest burning desire in every single one of us is to feel like we belong. And the minute Dad told me I was adopted, I no longer felt like I belonged anymore. I felt this just earth-shattering kaboom. But I felt like
almost like a bit of a lie, like it's all not real or something, you know?
Yeah. But the challenge was not the fact that he was telling me, it was what I was tuning into. So I stopped tuning into what he was saying and started tuning into what I was thinking. And what I was thinking was the complete opposite of what he was saying, because I was in a survival mode mechanism and I was looking to protect myself. So he was saying, my baby girl, you've always belonged to this family. I was hearing, I've been abandoned, rejected, and I'm undeserving of love. And those stories drove me for a very long time. And I still have this underlying fear of rejection, as it seems to be a common denominator through most adoptees. And I spiral into dark states of depressive episodes and anxiety and overwhelm when I'm depleted of energy, but also when things haven't perhaps gone my way, or I've experienced something that's really, really important to me, and I feel like I've let myself down and let other people down. So I'm familiar with those states, and I stay in them probably for a little bit too long, but at least I'm aware of it, so I'm managing it. That's why I can't wait to listen to Pete's episode, because I think we can all learn from feeling that sense of rejection, and then how we not only protect ourselves but preserve ourselves to help us propel ourselves forward, and not staying stuck in those moments, because it's really easy to stay there. It's really easy to either suppress, numb, or avoid. And that's the easy way out, but that's what also causes the long-term progression and the long-term severity of the pain and the depression and the anxiety that's leading to all these mental health issues that we're seeing today.
And stop you moving
Did you
forward.
have any sense of that in your memory before your father told you? Was there a vague sense?
Yes. Yeah, there was a vague sense, because my brother and my dad were both 6'2". I was 3 foot nothing when I was 8 years age. Now I'm 5'5". So, I don't really look too much like my family. They're tall, they're white skinned. My dad has like blue eyes, but my brother has brown eyes. They've both got dark hair. And when I was a young kid, I was 3 foot, dark olive skin, bright blue eyes, bright blonde hair. So I looked very different to the rest of my family.
So that struck you even then? You just had a sense that you looked different. You were a little bit apart.
It struck me, but I didn't question it.
Right.
And I didn't start questioning it until the kids around the street started questioning it. And that's what inspired Dad to sit me down and give me the information, because if kids were asking the questions, then I'm going to start asking questions.
Yeah, because I was going to say, I mean, he told you quite soon after your mother passed away. So that seemed like, a double whammy there.
It was a double whammy, absolutely. And I don't think he was seeing it from that point of view at all. He was just seeing the fact that the kids were starting to ask questions. I was starting to ask questions. It was time to sit me down and tell me the truth. But upon reflection, it was just too late to tell me the truth at 8 years of age. My brain has already developed the capacity to judge, to criticize, to analyze, to wrap stories and meanings around information. Tell me the truth earlier, so I can establish an element of trust and confidence in the information, but also the way in which it's shared with me. So then I can decide how I respond. But because my brain hijacked me, I wasn't able to decide. Now I was just hijacked by my limiting beliefs, by my fear, by my intrinsic drivers. And then that's essentially what drove me to become a 6-time world champion surfer.
Yeah. I know you've processed this quite a lot. And one of the things that I find defining in you and the time that we do spend together is your heart. You have a beautiful heart. You're actually a very beautiful, gentle human being. It's very easy to be around you. We can have a giggle and a laugh and whatever and share. Once we've caught up on seriousness, we can generally have a, So saying that, like, the fact that it wasn't told earlier has then set you up for a bit of a lifetime of learning about this and dealing with this. Is there a silver lining? Because you love to give to others. You love to stand. You love to teach. You love to actually offer your wisdom so wisely. Has there been some sort of perfection in this whole thing that it's caused you to learn some things that actually allows you to help others? Like, how's it been a silver lining? How's it worked out to be a positive thing for you? In what ways?
Well, like you said, Trev, it's giving me a very sound, personally lived and experienced platform to then share these learnings. The whole reason that I share the stories that I share, whether it's the highs of my life or the lows of my life, is to help people feel less alone in their struggles. And that's because I have done the work. I've done a lot of emotional work, a lot of internal healing. I'm very reflective and introspective, and I like to uncover the lessons and the learnings from these, because then I can move on. I have that mentality that if I'm not winning, I'm learning, and I'm not winning all the time. So I'm obviously, as we all are, learning a lot, and I like to then take those learnings, distill it into a lesson that I can then teach others. And that's where all of my teachings come from. So the silver lining in the whole adoption episode and losing my mother so young is helping me boost and build my own resilience and my intestinal fortitude to overcome those challenges, to learn strategies and tools that I can then teach others to address or overcome their challenges and their setbacks. Because trauma is trauma, pain is pain, suffering is suffering, and we all experience it, but there's a multitude of ways to overcome it.
So amazing story, and the silver lining's very obvious because you're becoming an incredible woman, human being. What tell us a little bit about when you did find out, and any part of this that you're comfortable sharing or not, that's up to you. But there was a desire the natural desire to find your biological mother, to actually tap back into, well, who am I then? Where am I from? Tell us a little bit about whatever part of that you feel is most relevant about what you found out and what that then led to.
Yeah, so I really applied myself to now becoming a world champion, because when Dad said, "You're my baby girl, but you've been adopted," I decided from that moment on that the only way that I could prove to the world that I'm deserving of love and affection is if I become a world champion at something.
So at that age, you decided to become a world champion at that young age, and you knew what that meant.
As an 8-year-old. Yeah.
Wow.
As an 8-year-old, I decided I have to be a world champion. But at the time, I was playing an abundance of sports, so I was going to be a world champion in a variety of different things.
Oh, so you actually didn't know what you were going to be world champion at?
No. I was playing tennis, cricket,
champion of the world.
Basketball. I was playing a variety of sports.
Wow.
So I hadn't really applied myself just yet to what that passion was, except the one sport that I always daydreamed about and couldn't wait to get back to was surfing. So I wasn't motivated by money. I was motivated by passion. Otherwise, I would have stuck with tennis.
And was there a freedom in the ocean that you felt? That what was the feeling 100%. Did you not feel alone in the ocean? What was the difference?
I feel free in the ocean. I feel connected. I feel centered. I feel it's my therapist as well. But the ocean is just where I feel pure joy, and it's a place where I'm able to rinse my mind and my heart of anything that may be troubling me, and just enable me to connect with Mother Nature, with Mother Earth. And I feel pure joy in that environment. For me, it's like immersing myself back in the womb. I just feel held. I feel nurtured. I feel safe. Irrespective of how maybe treacherous and intimidating it might be out there, I still feel at home. It's like a homecoming.
Astute listeners of our podcast would know that I did an episode with these guys and they grilled me, and I spoke very similarly about it. It was like I call her the ocean she's the mother. I always felt like I felt nurtured and protected. For me, I felt on land that I wasn't enough, that I couldn't measure up to everybody else, and there's no way I was going to be able to be as good as my father or somebody else was. And when I was in the water, I felt like I was enough. In fact, I loved exactly the way I was. And then all of a sudden, it was like she just lifted me up, and I could fly across the top of her and go, wow. I felt the relief of all those things.
Yeah, it's funny how we layer our human experience with expectations and fears and judgments and self-criticisms and self-loathings. But when we find those environments where we give ourselves permission to shed that skin and just be in the skin that we're in without all of those layers and judgments and stories, it's the freedom that you experience is pretty extraordinary. So I feel for people that don't have that space, that don't have that experience, where they can't just immerse themselves into an environment where they feel wholeheartedly whole and enough and content in life. And that's why I keep asking people, where's your happy place? Where do you find that moment to recenter yourself, to eliminate or silence, or just I don't know, protect yourself and surrender? Where's the space where you learn to surrender? For me, that's the ocean. And I'm very fortunate that I feel so safe and so held and so nurtured to be able to say I can surrender to a force that's so much more powerful than me, that can actually elevate me and liberate me, but then also take my life at the same moment.
I want to point out something, because I feel Denise is going to say something in a minute, because she's, I'm always saying to you, come on, find that happy place that, go hang out with your friends. But I just want to point out something that, you lost your mother, did not know who your other mother was at this stage, but you felt the Mother Ocean, the Mother Earth, And so it's very curious language. And you said, I felt like I was in the womb. It's very curious language that you also said that it was a force much bigger. And as we know, as humans, we can let people down. We can go and, we do go and we die, or we move away, or we have, we become not as trustable as we might hope that we would be for our kids, or whatever it is. As humans, we go up and down, but the greater force of the ocean and what you called the mother, that's a curious thing, isn't it? That it holds you so tight and makes you feel all those things that you were missing elsewhere.
Yeah, and it took me a while to land on what that was, because I was in a state of agitation and unhappiness, and I was actually out of the water for a few months, and I was doing a lot of emotional work. I do a lot of what's referred to as NET, which is neuro-emotional technique, which is helping me address the emotions that are governing my behaviors and maybe storing pain and trauma in my body, and then releasing them to then deal with the physical, because our bodies physically distract us from processing the emotional pain, but we store emotional pain. So if our shoulders are always stiff or sore or tight, or I hear about a lot of men who have shoulder issues, it means they're carrying the weight of the world on their shoulders.
I have shoulder issues.
Yeah, right.
You are carrying the weight of the world on your shoulders.
So anyway, I went and did this therapy session with one of my practitioners, and I said, I feel like I'm struggling to be happy. I can't find joy in life, and I don't know where to find it. And all the things that normally bring me joy are not bringing me joy, and I'm wondering, where's the block? Why am I feeling this agitation all the time? And we uncovered that when I was conceived, because I was conceived by my biological mother, she was 17 when she gave birth to me. I was conceived through date rape, and she was then told by her family that she was not allowed to keep me. So subconsciously, there must have been an element of rejection immediately, where I felt like I was deprived of joy in the womb. And so then, because of that subconscious connection, I started to understand how I was depriving myself of joy in life.
Yes.
And recognizing now that whenever I go back into the water, that's where the joy is. But I was layering that whole expectation with more pressure and stories and judgments and fears, that I was depriving myself of joy in my whole life, because I was still pretending I was back in the womb.
Yeah.
So now I know that when I go into the water, I can find joy in the womb, because that's where I feel safe and held and nurtured. I just have to give myself permission to experience that.
How crazy and beautiful the way you explain it. And I love and appreciate your openness and candidness, and that you have talked about this for others, as well.
Yeah.
But this coming back to the womb, the mother, all this sort of stuff, it's fascinating that. So Dr. Bruce Lipton talks about that most of our life patterns are created from conception through till 7 years of age. So most people that haven't come across this viewpoint before go, what, conception? Like at that point in time, there's a sperm and there's an egg, It's like, well, what's actually going on at the moment of that introduction of this being is going to come into the world can be psychologically or subconsciously sitting in the background. So you do a really beautiful job of not hanging your life on that explanation. You use that to explain, I can see what that means, and I let that go and I move on. But you also graciously visit it and say, this has taught me to have a look back and make sure that you understand that patterning does happen. So when you did first discover that information and you worked all that out, what was the initial release or realization when you put all the pieces together? What occurred for you next in that process?
Well, I think I cried a lot, because I was, I feel like I was aware of it, but I wasn't willing to acknowledge it. You have to face it to heal it, feel it to heal it.
Feel it to heal it, yeah.
Yeah, you got to feel it to heal it. And I was feeling it, but I wasn't acknowledging it. And so when I'm not acknowledging it, I'm not taking ownership or responsibility for it. So once I became aware of it, and I think a lot of people are afraid to do this self-reflection or analyzation or self-work, because they're afraid of what they may find out. But like you say, I love to visit it and dance with it. Sometimes wrestle with it, but sometimes dance with it, and have a better understanding of who I am and why I am the way I am, with the intention to improve the person that I am, because I don't wish to carry around that much baggage. So it was almost like, okay, I can release that layer, because we're onions, right? There's just layer after layer after layer. And so I peeled off that layer and liberated myself, and felt like an immense amount of relief and compassion and empathy and understanding of myself, until the next layer appeared. So it was just a matter of owning that aspect of myself and giving myself permission to go, that's okay, and let's move on.
Help me understand.
There's two things I'd love to share, one with my geneticist hat on, and then the other one as a human being. So as a geneticist, when you're talking about conception and these things that happen, so we have epigenetic programming. So if there is a stress or a trauma, this will change the things that sit on the DNA and literally change gene expression. So there can be experiences, traumas, also, environmental toxins, nutrient deficiencies, but this programs the DNA so that you will be in a more reactive kind of state. Like there is something in the world that is dangerous, something bad has happened, and I need to come out and it's a survival mechanism. So we understand it from a scientific perspective to a degree, not everything, but how trauma changes epigenetics, and then these people are set up for anxiety, more likely to get postnatal post-traumatic stress syndrome, all this kind of stuff. So a little comment there, with putting in the little science.
I love that Denise always goes, from a genetic point of view, that makes complete sense, and this is what happens. And when you say, I observed it and I could feel it, and then I healed it and I could see it and I freed it, Denise goes, so from a genetic point of view, what you did was, because we often say it's the mixing of science and soul, exploring human potential through the lens of science and soul. And I'll say something very soul-y, and Denise will go, well, genetically that means and it actually matches. When we were kids, Layne, they didn't match. They were warring with each other, those ideas of science and soul.
Yeah.
And now they're actually proving each other to be real, which I love. So
it
please go on.
causes changes to your hormones, to your neurotransmitters. When you think things, you actually cause a biological change in your body. But then as a human being, something a little bit different. You mentioned, I don't think I've really ever shared this story, but it took me back to a moment. You mentioned about how we store, pain or these emotional things, in our body. I used to sort of train at a pretty high level, never a professional athlete, but was pretty much into sort of exercise. And looking back, part of it was probably running away from the fact that my mum had Alzheimer's and dementia. So she had mental health issues when I was a teenager, and I didn't deal with it. I moved out young, and then when she got sick, I didn't really accept that. I don't think I accepted it. I knew it, a bit like what you said, I was aware of it, but I didn't cry. I didn't spend time with her. I just kind of went off and lived my life and worked really hard and exercised really hard and partied really hard and all those kind of things. But I had an injury, and it took me out for about a year. I had a lot of trouble walking. And then one day I was having myofascial release, something very gentle. Like I'd had all these hard, intense therapies and things. But, was still having a lot of trouble walking, was told I'd never run again. Long story short, I was having this very gentle myofascial release. I'd never had it before, and I had a huge emotional outburst. Like, I mean, a big cry. And I hadn't cried in years, and it was intense. It was physical, and I just had to let all this stuff go.
You bawled your eyes out.
And bawled my eyes out loud, physically.
Emotions.
And my adductor and all my hip, that even though I, had all these injuries, the pain actually went away. Like I could, it was an emotional release and attached to that physical pain. And then through some other things, because I couldn't exercise, I'd started doing some yoga, which I didn't love, and I hated the meditation. But then all of a sudden the meditation kicked in. Sort of after having this release, I was in the meditation, only doing it so that I could actually exercise again, not for the holistic healing. But it all came to me at this sort of end of a yoga class. I was like, oh, my God, I need to go and spend time with my mum. Like, what have I been doing? And there was a lot of emotional stuff, and all that physical healing sort of came with me then dealing with some emotional stuff. So just, it made me think of that moment and how much we do physically be impacted by these pains and emotional traumas.
Yeah, and funnily enough, it puts you back on track. In some ways, it sends you back to go, so you went back and found your mum or met your biological mum. Is that right? And
yes.
What was that like for you?
Well, it was a little confronting and also a little bit edifying at the same time because, of course, I started to question, well, who am I and why am I the way that I am and where do I come from? And I wonder what my mother looks like and I wonder if I look like her and I wonder what am I predispositioned for? Like, what's coming my way? And so when I was 24,
what's in my backstory that I don't know about?
Exactly, that leads me to being this person that I am today as well. That has contributed to that. When I was 24, I applied for my birth certificate and I received it, and it told me that she was 17 and lived in Surrey Hills. So I just crafted this story about her. And then in 1997, so 3 years later, 1999. So 5 years later, she reached out to me. She found my dad's details and called him and then called me and tried to make up for 27 years in one phone call, and which was very confronting and very overwhelming. And I literally just shut her out. I pushed her away and went, I'm not ready for this. I don't know how to cope with this. And so I went into survival mode and just in my typical survival mode, I literally shut down and shut out. And she kept coming. So I went to San Francisco. She lived in America and I flew. She was living in Santa Rosa, which is just outside of San Francisco. And I met her at the airport and it really felt like I was walking into a 17-year-old version of myself. Like there was no question that she was my mother, just from the look of her and her spirit and just everything about her. I was like, okay, because everyone was maybe questioning, is she a gold digger? Is she a fame digger?
Where were you in your career at this point?
I was just 2 months shy of winning my second world title.
Right. Okay. Wow. So well into it.
Yeah, so into it.
So you're looking at her and you can see you staring back. So yes.
Yeah, I'm like, oh, yep, no question here. And so then we just sat down and had a chat and promised to stay in contact, and then that was the beginning of what resulted in quite a tumultuous journey and moments of rejection and moments of acceptance and it ebbed and flowed like the tides. It came in and went out, and then in 2017, it was around about this time actually, 2017 around Easter, she rang me and said that she'd been diagnosed with ovarian cancer and had been given 3 weeks to live. So I had to jump on a plane and run over to America the next day. And fortunately, I had that opportunity. You know, I think about so many people, especially during COVID, that weren't blessed with the opportunity to say goodbye to loved ones. And that gave me the closure and the resolve and the immense amount of gratitude that I needed to basically close that chapter. So, yeah.
You say gratitude. Why gratitude? What was it that you were grateful for?
I'm grateful we got to settle our differences. We got to say, I'm sorry. We got to forgive each other. We were able to let each other know that we loved each other, and then she fell asleep. So I'm very grateful that I had that opportunity to have that conversation, because our relationship had literally gone like this all the time. And if I wasn't rejecting her, she was rejecting me. And then I would, come in and say, I'm sorry. And she's like, I don't know what to take of that. So it was just, we're always, finding a way to come to stay in each other's lives, but never truly connecting. And so to have that moment right before she died was really, really special.
Have you ever wondered what a healthier, stronger future you might look like? With Melrose FutureLab, Australia's first longevity supplement range, you can now optimise your health span routine by supporting cellular energy, metabolic well-being and muscle maintenance, as well as much, much more. And you can find this range at Chemist Warehouse and leading health food stores.
I reckon a lot of people listening, Layne, would be going, "Whoa, wow," and relating in their own different ways and feeling certain things from what you just said. What do you feel when you say it? When you say, look, I had that chance and I got to say, well, what do you feel when you say that to us right now? This different Layne years on, that's so beautiful. How do you feel when you reflect on it now?
It's different every day. My emotions are the result of my energy. So if I'm depleted of energy, my emotions are a lot more surface level, a lot more raw. So I feel a lot more vulnerable now. But if I'm energetic, then I can be quite, I don't know, just matter of fact about it. So
yes.
Every day is different. I'm riding the waves just like every other human being, and I can't control the waves, but I can learn how to surf, right? So
you can turn on them.
Yeah. So I just do my best. So and then there's moments where I just stop and go, damn, I wish I could have, or I wish. And whenever I get stuck in that mentality, I know I'm prolonging pain and suffering. So I come back and I anchor myself in, I'm so grateful I did. So otherwise I could live in this shame cycle or guilt cycle of pushing her away and not connecting with her and not learning more about her. And now as I'm seeing my business partner, Tess, in Awake Academy, bring up her toddler, I realise I have more empathy for her now. It's a little late for that, but I do. I have a lot more empathy and understanding or compassion for what she must have gone through.
Yeah. This is such an informing thing of your life. This has informed the way you are now. Tell us a little bit about your academy and what you're most loving to teach right now. What are you living to give now? Based on all these things, what do you most live to give? And tell us about the academy.
That's a great question. What do I live to give? I live to give. See, one word I really don't like to use is hope. But I do. There's a part of me that does live to give that, because hope to me stands for heaps of plausible excuses. Like we're waiting for everything.
So that's the shadow of hope, is heaps of plausible excuses.
The shadow of hope. We're waiting for everything outside to change before we do.
But there's a little light of hope too, right? There's a light side as opposed to the shadow side. So that's what you were just feeling. So what is that? What's the light of hope?
So the light of hope is that centeredness, that connection, that confidence within the self to overcome, to establish clarity, to believe in the self, to motivate, to inspire, but then to also honor and acknowledge and accept, because things aren't always good all the time. So it's to provide a toolkit to navigate life, to be a happier, more purposeful human being, to know yourself and grow yourself. That's what the name of our book is. Know yourself, grow yourself, and live a happier, more purposeful life. That's what I live to give. Is the tools that I've utilised to overcome and live and thrive.
Wow.
I imagine too that you would have built a lot of resilience. We've talked about your personal life, which, is huge at obviously shaping who you are. But even just going back for me, who I mentioned just before we jumped on, even though I was from Melbourne originally and not really into surfing, as soon as I moved down to, Torquay, Jan Juc, that's all everyone talks about is surfing. And the Rip Curl Pro's on and this and that. Like it's just the whole town. And you are really the first female surfer that I know of that, became a real surfer. I mean, you changed the sport, and I'm sure there were, many women before you, but didn't take it to the level that you have. And I imagine there were a lot of challenges and resilience. And I'm sure there's some stories there if we have a moment to explore
kicks
that.
In the guts and all sorts of stuff that happened.
I would love to hear a bit more about that as a woman.
Give us the essay on that.
As a female coming through and what you've done to overcome all that and change the sport.
Yeah, maybe take us through those 6 titles, just, that snapshot of who you became and what you learn and what you're up against, because you really did change Australian sport and world sport. You really did. You changed the way we all saw it. So great question, Denise.
That's very generous of you, and I don't feel worthy of the credit so much as you're giving.
Well, there's that worthiness. There's that worthiness thing again. We'll nip that in the bud. Yep.
And that's just the little adoptee coming out saying, "No, I'm not worthy of that."
That's right.
And that's stemming from fear, not from love.
Well, the other thing I want to say on that quickly, Layne, is that I feel your life has been very much a meant-to-be experience. You are meant to be in all those young girls' faces. You're meant to to inspire Steph, Carissa, or all the others. You are meant to change it. So there's such a thing, because right back in that early story, there's that part of not meant to be, like not meant to be, not supposed to be. And then, but the truth is, the deeper, greater, most amazing truth that would defy all the odds is bullshit. This woman was meant to come through all of that like a spirit that's an undeniable spark that changed everything, and that was meant to be. You literally were the person that was strong enough to change that. So I'll give that acknowledgement to you in a different way and say, that's the way I see it, is you were born to do what you did. So tell us a little bit about it from that perspective.
Stop it, Trev.
You're a gift to us, Layne. You have just always been a gift.
Thank you.
You did it again, Trev.
He likes to make people cry.
But it's genuine. I just
It
love.
nearly had
I just
me in
love
tears
her.
this morning before the podcast even
Yeah.
started. But
You're in
deep,
tears now.
I
You're
know. I'm
feeling
actually am
Lainey.
in tears now. But
I just love and adore you, mate. I know. I see you. I just know. I get you. I'm so grateful for you in my world. So.
Yeah.
and
Thank
I
you.
just have a personal interest as in a female to a female. Like, how did you do that?
How'd you change the world? Yep.
Well, I had a really clear vision that I wanted women's surfing to stand on its own 2 feet. Now, that was about as clear as the vision got. I had no idea what it needed to do that or what it looked like. I just wanted women's surfing to be different to what it was when I found it, which is a misogynistic sexist shit show.
It's called MSSS. Misogynistic sexist shit show.
It wasn't.
Yes.
It wasn't welcoming. It wasn't supported. It wasn't encouraged.
Full of self-importance.
Oh God, yeah, it was. It was brutal. And then the women, I think, were so desperate to earn the recognition and respect of all the men that ran the show that they started acting and behaving and dressing like men. It's like we'd lost the benefit of gender, and
Wow.
they lost their own identity in that. And they were doing it for the love of the sport. And so I feel that's where I feel like I'm not worthy of all the credit, because they took so much, like they encountered and endured so much shit to give me the little platform that I took, and then took it completely to a new stratosphere, because I looked at what they'd endured and go, that's not for me, and that's not okay. And we know that we set the standards by what we allow. And I just kept looking at that going, that's not okay. That's I don't know how this has been allowed for so long. And so I became the spokesperson, the advocate, the agitator, the antithesis to the surfing industry. I became what I referred to as a loose cannon, because I spoke my mind. I challenged the status quo. And everything that I did was very unpopular.
Unpopular amongst who? I mean, who found what you did challenging and
confronting?
Yeah, who specific? I mean, not names, but what groups of people? So the surfers themselves, but there would have been others.
The male surfers, my female colleagues, my peers, the surfing industry, and the governing body.
Yeah.
Just
so
that.
Everyone. But what you're describing, because that is the real change. What you showed is not just elevating women's surfing, but that you don't have to behave or appear like a man in order to elevate that. You can be a woman. That's the real change. That's what I can see is it was the bravery that came with that. So
I remember to that point, I remember just going to a press conference because every event used to have a little press event or a media event, and the excitement that was displayed by the media when I showed up to, I think it was for the Diet Coke Women's Classic or one of the events down at Manly, in a little black dress with a bit of jewellery on. And they were like, whoa. It's like, what's
not a pair of board shorts and a shirt or something.
Yeah, pair of trackies and a T-shirt? No. Well, probably because I wasn't sponsored. But but I brought some femininity. And I must admit, Lisa Anderson was one of the pioneers of,
she was
boosting the essence of femininity through sport and showing how beautiful it is to be a beautiful woman, but also to be a powerful woman.
Yeah.
And to be strong, and that the beautiful warrior story that you share, Trev, especially with your kids and your daughters, and being that warrior woman. The the discouragement that women experienced in the early years, and then which resulted in this lack of identity, this belief in conformity that prevented them from embracing their beauty and embracing their style and saying, I am woman, hear me roar, like this is what I bring. And now we're seeing the benefits of that with the WSL and the investment into women's surfing. So I just wanted to take women's surfing out of the shit box that it was in and put it on a platform where it was being elevated and celebrated for what it is without comparison. And unfortunately, we spent too many years being compared to the men, and that held us back for too long.
Oh, that's a beautiful share.
Just before we just move on, because it does raise another question, and what is it that you see that women's surfing brings that men's doesn't?
Elegance, style, grace, beauty, humour, estrogen.
Can I add light? Can I add light? Light. There's a lightness. You know, I just see. I don't. This is just a picture that came into my mind as a filter. But the flowing blonde hair, the lightness. You know, the joy, the lightness. You know, the love of like. You said humour, like giggling, girls playing. My God, what a powerful, powerful thing that's been needed for so long. Girls playing.
Playfulness, yeah. I feel that women surf with the ocean, whereas men try and surf against the ocean.
Yeah.
So we tap into Mother Nature and allow her to protect and push us, whereas I find men kind of come out and try and attack, and men tend to oversurf and be aggressive.
Tear the wave to pieces.
So it sounds a bit more like a dance is what you're describing.
It is a dance. Yeah, women tend to dance more than the men. And I must admit, last year I was competing for my club, and I went up and surfed with my surf coach right before I started competing, just to refresh all of the mentality that's associated with competition. And I caught 2 waves, and he called me in. He's like, "Okay, here's the thing. You've forgotten the dance." And I went, "Oh my God, yeah, you're right." And that made me cry because I realized I'd gone into the masculinity of surfing. And I detached from the femininity of surfing, and I needed to come back into the dance.
It's funny you should say that, because a good friend of yours and someone we've had on, Kelly Slater, is that probably through the similar period of time, in some ways had a little bit more of the dance in him than others, right? He was one of the ones that brought that, you know, the intricacies of manoeuvres and everything else. But there's that, even though Kelly was a brutal competitor, he also had that connection with the ocean that played itself out, which augured really well for him, right? You both won so many titles over that period of time and both defined the sport. But from a male angle and from the female angle, you both appeared to me to be dancing.
Yeah, I think Kelly was the king of that, and he has this innate nature about him when he's in the ocean. It's almost like the less he thinks, the better, because he is so in tune and so connected. I felt like he was a natural talent. So the prodigy that he became and the master that he became emanated from, I feel, the trust in his abilities. I feel that I came from a place where I didn't have natural ability. I didn't have natural talent. I didn't have that natural understanding, and I had to develop it, which actually held me back, because for the first 5 years or first 6 years of my professional surfing career, I was attempting to enforce myself upon the tour, and I was attempting I was just trying too hard. And we know trying is the opposite of trusting. And whenever we go into trying, we're no longer in flow. We're out of adaptation. We're now into aggression and assertion. And Kelly was the epitome, and just when you talk about light, when Kelly was in flow, my goodness, he was a ball of light. It's almost like he could have actually manipulated the ocean, because he was just so powerful. And I remember those moments within myself, but they were very fleeting, because I kept getting in my head. I kept getting in my own way, and getting out of my own head and falling back into my heart, which is the stories that I share about my world titles. 7 of them were won, 6 in a row of them were won. I won 7 world titles, I won 6 in a row, but I only won 5 in fear and 2 in love. So the fear-based world titles were outcome-driven, and the love-based world titles were process-driven, and they were effortless, they were graceful, they were beautiful, they were joyful. Didn't mean that I won all the time, and it didn't mean it wasn't hard, but there was an effortlessness about it.
Unfolded for you.
Yeah, and it was built on a foundation of trust. But the minute I won my first one, I now went into these layers of expectations and unassociated pressure that just built on it, that just made it harder, because I had this limiting belief or subconscious belief that success had to be hard, and I kept making it so.
So were those ones that you won in flow, that you won when, were they the last two, or you just happened to be?
The bookends, 1 and 7.
Wow.
First and last.
Okay. Yeah, how poetic.
I love it too that we're talking about the empowerment of the feminine, but when the masculine and the feminine work really well together, they inspire each other and they show each other the way. And I love when you talked about Kelly being the light, but even when he did won world title number 7, which was after him and I started working together, because he came off the tour and went back on the tour, and he released a video for the love. The video, and it was actually 7 was letting go. I think number 8 was for the love. Yeah. So it's kind of crazy that you are learning the same things. That it took him till title number 7 or 8 to learn about love, and it took you to title number 7 to go, oh, it is about the love. It's gone full circle.
Yeah, I know. I should have worked with you a lot earlier. I missed out on that.
Yes.
When I was coming back, I was returning from a severe neck injury. So I had a herniated disc in my neck that I suffered when I was surfing Chopu when I won in 2001, and it severed 80% of my spinal cord, and I chose to ignore it to the point that I had an immense amount of atrophy and an enormous amount of pain. So I had to go and address that issue, and it took me 6 months out of the water to address it and deal with all of the layers of pain and trauma that were associated with that injury, to then come back. And to come back with a refreshed attitude, I had to learn to trust in something different, because the way in which I was operating was unsustainable. And it was really easy to identify why it was unsustainable. My body was broken. My relationships were strained. I was adrenally exhausted. There was just so many indications that things weren't okay. But it's amazing how we can convince ourselves that being not okay is actually okay. So we become addicted to that discomfort, because it's familiar and it's known, and we like to stay stuck there, which is what I did. I stayed stuck in that for 6 world titles. And then one of my girlfriends asked me, what's driving you? Do you think it's 'cause you're adopted? I was like, yeah, you're right.
Hang on, did you just take that away from me?
Yeah. Yeah.
Didn't win a world title after that.
Denise, we were talking about this morning, about being driven and actually having to come back and tune in and allow yourself to rise up to what you're really here to do, to let go of the struggle. And sometimes the struggle can be a convenient thing. I want to touch on that, and you share whatever you want about this, but I find it intriguing and fascinating, because I've spent a bit of time around you guys. But in your love journey, you eventually come along, and what most people would see on the outside is an unlikely coupling and a beautiful marriage. So you talk about whatever you want in this, so I don't want to pry. But Kirk, your beautiful partner, Kirk, oh my God, you guys are amazing together. I'm sure I don't know about what happens behind the scenes, but you're such an incredible yin and yang. You're such a show-stopping couple to be around, and you're both such big spirits. Like, oh my God, irrepressible spirits. And tell us a little bit about whatever you feel comfortable, but what did he bring to you? What did you discover? What happened when you let yourself be in love like that? What happened?
Well, first I allowed myself to be seen, which was really challenging at first.
He saw you from a place like way out, didn't he? He saw you.
Well, I believe so. But look, when he was introduced to me, he really had no idea who I was, because he didn't watch TV. He was an international rock star, and the first concert I ever went to was an INXS show when I was 14. And can you imagine him standing there behind his microphone with his saxophone going, there's my future wife.
Just 14.
The 14-year-old in the third row with a Garfield jumper on. That's her.
4'1".
Yes. But when you were talking about the spirit that we share, it made me reflect on the fact that we're big characters, but we're we share a love of the little things, and that's what helps us stay so united and so strong. And it's the little things that we continue to build on, because we started this far apart and we're continuing to collide. These two worlds are colliding gradually, because we're so different in so many ways, but so the same in many of those ways. And we love finding those commonalities as we get older. And Kirk's 14 years older than me and wants me to retire, but also respects my desire to keep doing what I do and loving what I do. And also, is maybe not enjoying being a surf widow, but is accepting the fact that it brings me a lot of joy and it's my happy place. So he encourages me to go surfing. But I'm really grateful that I found someone that brings the best out in me and elevates and celebrates me, but also challenges me. He can be a real devil's advocate. He can be a real asshole too, but so can I. So
great relationship.
Yeah.
Mighty companions.
I've got one like that.
Yeah, yeah, you're right on track.
Kirk's a beautiful soul. I'm very grateful to have him in my life.
Very quick question on that. We can be arseholes for each other, which is what great relationships do. They go, no, bullshit, there's more, come on, we challenge each other. But flipping it completely, from wanting to be recognised and wanting to be seen and that little healing that you had to go through, what is the sweetest thing he's ever said to you? What's the thing?
The first thing that comes to mind is when I'm in a depressive state or when I'm struggling, he allows me to marinate in that for a little while, but then he basically calls me on it and says, "What's going on? Are you okay?" And I know he's asking me at a time when he has the capacity to deal with whatever comes out of me, because it's one thing to know someone's not okay, but if you're not okay and you're asking someone that's not okay, you can't hold the space for them. And holding the space is hard. So when I'm not okay and he says, "Are you not okay?" and I'm like, "Yeah, you're right, I'm not okay," the sweetest thing that he does is he says, "Do you need a hug?"
Oh,
that's beauty. That's gold, because men love to fix shit.
Yeah. But how beautiful, because it goes all the way back to your story about the ocean and the embrace of the, in the womb and the hug, all you've ever really needed, Layne, is a hug.
That's
Pretty powerful woman, just need a hug every now and then.
I just need a hug. That's why I'm a hugger. I love to be hugged. I love to feel the hug. I love to feel the embrace, and it doesn't have to be physical. It can also come through the words that you say or your intentions or just your energy. So that's probably why I'm a little bit hyper aware of that.
We're having a big hug right now, four of us. We love you, Layne.
And I'm actually picturing too when my husband gives me a hug. There's a bit of a similar thing. Sometimes, I take on a lot. We all know this, and lots of things going on.
Yeah.
And I can get quite, busy, and I'm almost repelling him because, you just sort of like, I've just got so much going on. I don't want to talk right now. But he has this little thing where he comes in and gives me a hug. But he kind of just, and he's quite personality that's quite a stronger personality. He's not like a softy kind of guy, but he comes in anyway. Long story short, he gives me this hug, but he kind of sneaks in slowly. It's very cute. And all of a sudden, I am out of that place of, I can't talk to you right now. There's too much going on, but just to go, and I can just let go. It's
nice.
I think a hug can be very, very powerful, even if you think you don't want one.
So,
it is. Yeah, exactly. You've been pleasantly surprised and what's the word I was looking for?
Disarmed.
Disarmed, that's it. Yeah, been disarmed by a hug. And Kirk loves to, he'll walk down to the post office and he'll come back, and I'm out surfing and I'll come back to the office and he's left a frangipani on my desk because he loves frangipanis. Or he's found my towel and he's put it in the sun for me.
I want a hug from Kirk too now that you're telling me this.
He's adorable.
He's adorable. And now we've got 3 final questions for you because we're going to get you out of here in 10 minutes because you've got other beautiful things to do. So firstly, Denise.
Yeah. So I would love to know, what is your protocol? It doesn't have to be a protocol, but what do you do to keep yourself, healthy, well? What are you doing right now that's working for you? Is there any dietary stuff? Obviously you're surfing, supplements. What are you doing that you could share with us?
Yes, great question, Denise, because my life has changed dramatically since entering into menopause.
I'm in perimenopause.
navigating the menopause. What do you got there? What medication?
Look at that.
Yeah, so we actually have
We'll
a
send you-
new
we'll send you
product
some.
It's called
that we can
Menopause
send
Ultra
you.
Complex.
Yeah, so
And it combines black cohosh and fenugreek.
Because menopause is bloody complex.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yep.
that's right. Well,
But
boom.
this is great for supporting many of the symptoms.
and not
associated
only
with that.
this, which is specifically good for hot flashes and when you're going through a lot of the symptoms, we've also got other products too that can help with sleep and calming.
We'll put a little package together for you with some samples.
the
that you
deep
can
wave
try
sleep
and-
booster is
the deep
just
wave
amazing.
sleep booster is one of my favourites. Yeah, yep.
Right, thanks. Yeah, so I listened to a podcast with Andrew Huberman and Dr. Stacey Sims
Oh, and
At the-
no, Stacey. Yeah,
at the start of the year and realised that everything I was doing was wrong. I've been intermittent fasting
Oh,
for
right.
10 years.
Yep.
And over the last couple, it worked for me for probably the first 7 years, but over the last few years, it's just stopped working. And I'm thinking, what am I doing wrong? Why isn't this fasting thing working for me anymore? Why do I keep fluctuating with my body weight? And what is this band of fat around my belly? Like, where has that come from? And do I really have to learn to accept that? Yes, I do. And look, I've been in menopause for 9 years now, so I think I'm into my 10th year of it, and I've been through the worst of it. I feel, but I still get, I wake up with the hot flash, and I still go into brain fog and memory loss and the weight gain and the tinnitus and all of. So there's so many things that go with menopause. It's fascinating. It's almost like it becomes a hook for absolutely every ailment of a woman over 50. Oh, it's just menopause.
and itchy skin. I'm just really itchy, and then I was like, someone told me that's her. One of the
menopause.
symptoms.
Super dry skin, like snake skin.
Yeah, it's just like, where's that come from?
Brutal. So what I have done, because I remember saying to Kirk last year, I really look forward to the day when I have the vitality and the energy to not only surf but train as well, because I really want to get my body strong again. I've had a lot of atrophy and I've lost a lot of muscle mass in my 50s, and I didn't realize it was a result of, number one, intermittent fasting, and number two, not consuming enough protein.
Yeah, protein.
We have a product for you.
We'll get you that. The muscle protein complex.
And it's got not only, really clean with the collagen and the amino acids, great for healthy aging. It's made for healthy aging, but it's also got HMB, so it can help stop that muscle
muscle
It's a
atrophy.
signaling
muscle
molecule
retention.
that
So
forces you to
good.
retain
Oh,
muscle and build muscle. It's crazy.
Yep, you'll love it. And if you're wanting to get back into training and feeling strong, one of my patients at the moment, only one, but she's extremely fit. She's in her 50s. I mean, she's still, and a bit like you, she's quite ripped for a 50-year-old, but starting to really notice this tummy that's coming, and she's not happy with that. But since she started that product, plus everything else we're doing, but she's losing that belly fat. The berberine is helpful as well. We've got the berberine. But she said she's feeling stronger. So she's always had protein powder, but this particular one, she's like, I actually feel stronger. She's noticing a difference in her training. So fingers crossed you can let us know if you're getting back into training, if it helps you. Yeah, we'll send you all of
We'll
that.
get you the pack.
I have got back into training. I started working with a personal trainer, a guy called Shannon Ponton, who was the celebrity trainer.
I know
Shannon.
Shannon,
Yeah.
So I'm working with him. I've joined a gym for the first time in my life.
Wow.
And I'm finding now that because I'm eating before I train, I'm eating after I train, I'm incorporating protein into all my meals, that I'm now physically a lot stronger and have a way more energy. So now I can surf for hours and also go to the gym, which I haven't been able to do that for years. So Kirk's a little bit pissed at me because I'm not doing the intermittent fasting, so I don't suffer on the 2 days a week that he's suffering. But I'm happy to skip that altogether and have the vitality to move my body and nourish my body with quality foods and quality protein and rest and sleep better.
And all those studies around intermittent fasting, metabolic health and weight loss, they're predominantly done in men, a lot of them male athletes, not women, particularly not women going through perimenopause or menopause. And the other thing with fasting is not only can you be getting that, losing muscle, as you said, the reality is if you're a little bit stressed or there's some stuff with cortisol, it's a bit of a stress on the body. It's not good for everyone. We want to feel nourished and we need to get all those nutrients in.
Yeah, that's right. That's the healing part.
And I stopped doing contrast therapy as well.
Ah, okay. Hot, cold?
Well, I stopped doing the infrared into ice baths because the ice bath is just too much stress on my body.
Yeah. It's not for everyone. It's great for lots of people. Like intermittent fasting can be great, cold therapy can be great. But if you do have some adrenal stuff, you do have some issues around. So because of your history, all those epigenetics, you're going to have a big stress response. You're going to feel unsafe. So we don't want to be putting more and more stress onto you.
And you're trying to apply something that needed your guardian mentality. You're trying to apply the old warrior to it, which is like hot, cold, go without, all that sort of stuff, where actually you need the nurturing now, which is the protein and the nutrients. So a question, Layne, we ask this one to everybody, and we're going to get you out of here in about 4 minutes. So So if we were, with this beautiful information and Shannon's help and everything you've learnt, and if we were to explore this whole thing and we were to find ways to give you an extra 10, 15, 20 years of really healthy living, because that's what health span is and longevity truly is, another 10, 15, 20 years of longevity or health span, what would you want to do with it? Why would you want an extra 10, 15, 20 years of healthy living? What does Layne Beachley want to do with that?
Surf a shortboard.
That's nice.
I just want to surf.
For people that don't understand, that just simply means old surfers, they still surf, they just get on longer and longer boards. What Layne wants to do is surf a shortboard, like the same thing that she ripped up forever, and just keep going surfing that shortboard.
That's what I want to do with it. I mean, of course, I want to have the vitality for all the fun things in life. I want to be able to travel and engage and challenge myself and not feel so depleted and exhausted that I don't have the energy for the fun things in life. And that's where I found myself. I was too depleted to enjoy life outside of just surfing. So that's why Kirk was kind of resentful to surfing, but now I have the energy for all the other things. So what you're talking about with the health span, I just want to be able to have the energy for life and to keep surfing and to keep bringing my energy and my joy to the world.
Yeah.
Back to the girl playing, the little girl just wanting to play.
And I look forward to looking at you've got this academy that we'll look into and this book.
Well, actually, that's the next question. Less profound, but just as important. So if people want to find out more about what you're doing, the academy and what you have to offer, how can they find you?
So they can jump on awakeacademy.com.au and find us there. We developed this academy back during COVID, during 2020, and essentially it's all my life lessons distilled into an online course that we now facilitate and deliver publicly through corporations and public events. So we've actually got an event coming up in June just for men, and it's for addressing men's mental health and normalising the conversation around mental health and getting.
And where and when is that? Where and when is that?
That's at Manly Pavilion on the 12th of June. It's a full-day event. So jump onto the events page of the awakeacademy.com.au website and you'll find all the information there. So we're really excited by that. We've also got a book, which is essentially the online course distilled into a book form. And we're also working on developing a podcast and coming out with a variety of other things as well. But it's a passion project and it's something that we love. When people come to our events, they walk out going, my goodness, I got more from that than I did in 15 years of therapy. So thank you. So we're helping people transform their own lives to be happier and healthier and live more purposefully.
Well, I love you, Sister Layne.
I love you.
And
we love you as well.
We've just met.
We're all in together.
Say it, Danny. We love her.
You're just such an incredible Australian human woman, spirit, young little girl. So grateful to have you all in our world, and thanks for being you.
Thank you for being you. Thanks, you guys. Thanks for the chat.
Thanks.